Happy Friday, everybody. Well, here we are for our second Friday fast class. I'm not too sure how fast today's class is going to be because there were a lot of questions that came through. You all have some very specific things that you want to know about how a VA can help you right now. Some interesting conversations that I've been having this week. And please, if you're coming on to join me live, say hi in the comments so I know who it is and who's watching me. I don't know how your week's been. Mine's been a bit up and down, so this is a nice way for me to end my week in talking about the things that I know the most about. And funnily enough, today was one of those fabulous days where I just realised that for those of you that don't know, all of my team are in the Philippines. I'm the only person based here in Australia. And out of all of the team that are in the Philippines, they all work from home anyway, and so they're all separated, and none of them really, they kind of chat online every now and then. But the cool thing is that we did a tea party today at 1 o'clock, and I brought as many of them online in a Skype call as I could. It was just so lovely. We had about 15 girls online. Some of them have never met each other before or spoken to each other or seen each other's faces. So it was really lovely for everybody to be online and talk to each other. And we just basically went around the table, so to speak, and just, introduced each other, where we live, what restrictions are in place at the moment with the coronavirus, and each sort of VA had very different restrictions. Some of it was quite amazing. We're very blessed here in Australia, let me tell you, for the restrictions that we have, that we're still able to get outside. For most of them who live in central Manila, for example, they can't even leave their apartments. They can't get out to get food. Yeah, it's just amazing. Oh, who said you look like you need bed rest for a few days? Yes, I so do. Hi, Sam. Lovely to see you here. Thank you. So what I want to talk about today, there's been some very specific questions that people have put into the group, and I want to cover those because I think it's going to be helpful for everybody else to understand how it all works. So I'm going to start off firstly with Sam's question. She asked, can a VA manage social media posting, particularly Instagram, and can they craft a social media strategy? So the simple answer to that is yes, they absolutely can. And particularly at the moment, that's one of the strengths that our VAs have, and it's one of the things that we're focusing on, only because we're finding that in this coronavirus time, everybody is trying really hard to get online. So for those businesses that haven't been doing much online, they're really learning how to get themselves more visible. And, selling is now online. I watched a story yesterday from a group that I've been a member of for a long time, the Entourage, and one of their members owned a chocolate shop, I guess it was, chocolate products. They had to close down. They couldn't actually have the shop operating, and so they pivoted really fast through everything online and had the busiest month that they've ever had, and turned over like $100,000 in that month by putting themselves online. They went really fast, and they put Facebook ads out there, and they just got it happening. So, that's the extreme of what can happen. But, I think at the very least, the things that we should be doing is just having a look. So, Sam, this might help, and this might help everybody. What we're doing at the moment within Virtual Elves is my marketing team have basically done keyword research. They've also done research on what people are searching for at the moment. So basically gone in and said, all right, in our industry, what are people on Google searching? So what are the topics that they're searching? We've taken those topics, put them into a spreadsheet, and our article writers are going to be writing articles using those topic headings, spinning them obviously slightly to make it so that we're not copying anything, but we're putting that content, and then we're developing that content content around what people are looking for and the keywords that they're using and the search terms that they're using. So, you know, that's been fantastic. And our plan now is that we just have every 2 days, we've just got content that's going out that is specifically around currently what people are searching for. So yes, Sam, the answer is absolutely. They can craft the social media strategy around Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and basically get that content so that it's visible. We can do the Facebook ads and they can get your stuff out there really fast. Okay, so yes, how fantastic that we are already online, Sam. Absolutely right. And yes, look, online spending has increased incredibly, and we have to be there. If you don't have anything that people can actually buy from you or learn from you or do with you online, then you are going to be left behind. I was talking to another client today who she's got 3 businesses and she hasn't got a website for one of them, but it sells products. And so we're going to just basically do as much as possible to get her online as quickly as possible so that she can start selling something, and then we'll just keep adding to it. So it's just little things like that that, you know, you've just got to think about it in a different way. Okay, so there's that question answered. The next question that Marie was asking was around how can I make it an easy transition so I don't feel like it would be just quicker to do it myself. Now this is a huge block, I think, or not even a block, but it's an inhibitor. So it's a reason why people don't jump on to getting a VA and just getting stuff done. Yes, sometimes it is easier and quicker for you to do it yourself. I totally get that. But if you've also got another 30 things that are quicker and easier for you to just do yourself, and it's your whole day is with all those quick things that are easy to do for yourself, you're not then focusing on the things that are harder, that need a lot of your brain power and need a lot of the thought process. You're not focusing on them, you're focusing on these short, quick little things that you know can just get done really quickly. If you were to hand over 20 of those short things, if you built a process to show somebody exactly how you want them to do those 20 short things, and then you handed it over, it's done. It might take them a couple of times to learn how to do it, but you can get rid of it for good because you've shown them exactly how to do it. They're off your plate. You've now got the space that it took for you to do those 20 things entirely up to yourself to then focus on the things that matter. So the easiest way to do that is by the way that I spoke to in the last fast class, is using Loom to record the video of how you actually do the task. So it could be a 5-minute task, right? Or a 10-minute task, and you're showing them physically in a video how to do it. Get rid of it, get them to try it, test them, make sure that they know what they're doing, and then it's done. That is the easiest transition that you can do in getting something off your plate onto somebody else's. Okay, so so just going to quickly go back because I've answered that question, but Sam, would 10 to 15 hours per week be adequate to craft a social media plan and post and comment? Yeah, absolutely. Look, I reckon you... Quiet, dog. I reckon you'd probably get away with 10 hours to do the social media plan, probably 15 hours in the beginning because the research element probably takes the longest time to start with. But then after that, you could probably drop it down a bit, and then you could basically let them continue on. Yes, dog. Let them continue on with less hours to basically manage the process of getting everything out. But yeah, at the beginning, you're probably going to take a bit of time. And in fact, sometimes we kind of say, all right, let's have a look at your scope of work. What is it that you actually want? And then the VA will look at that and say, all right, well, we want to do this, this, and this, and it might take me 20 hours initially to do that. But then after that, it's 10 hours a week to manage. So that's basically how that works. So hopefully that has answered that question. So the next question, do I need a few VAs depending on the tasks I need done? So my answer to that generally is yes. And it depends what it is though, because we do have a lot of VAs that are multi-skilled, so could do particularly some admin plus social media. Some of them understand tech and can do admin. So it really depends. My feeling around that and the way that we tend to work is I've got an activity called task audit activity, and I'd love to run you guys through that. I'll post the link in the bottom, but what it does is it basically identifies all of the different things that you could have somebody do in your business for you, and it categorizes them into specific types of tasks. So it could be personal stuff, it could be sales, marketing, tech, creative, admin. Okay, so what you would then do is you'd have a look at that and see where most of your tasks lie. You'd put a job description together around those tasks to see what is the key thing that you want to achieve, and you'd put the other tasks in there as a would be good to have. But what I find is that most VAs are really, really good at one, core area. The other areas they tend to be okay at, but they're not excelled at. So, for example, I tend to shift graphic design work away from a VA. I tend to put that to a graphic design specific VA. Same with web development. I find that that's a specific skill as well. So, marketing, research, article writing is a specific skill as well. I wouldn't lump that with a general VA. So there are definitely different areas where a VA is stronger in than others, and so you may want to then split. But you won't know that until you do your job description and you identify the tasks, okay? How much hand-holding is needed? Yeah, good question. It really depends. So it depends on how well you've organised the training. So, you shouldn't ever expect that a VA can just step in and take over the tasks without any direction and without a little bit of orientation to start with. It would be like you going to start in a company and being put at your desk and not given any induction or orientation to the business. You still need to give them a good amount of direction to start with. And I always find that the more direction you give them at the very beginning and the more hand-holding you do at the very beginning, the less you'll have to do later. So, for example, if you're looking for somebody that can manage your what could I make as an example? Someone that manages your events, right? You're going to give them a 2-week training to start with, slowly ease them into the tasks that you want them to perform. You're not going to throw everything at them on day one and say, have a look at that and walk away and let them be. You're going to slowly induct them into what you want them to do, testing them at each point to make sure that they understand it. I mean, I don't know how many people when I went after I finished school, I worked in hotels, and we used to do what was called train the trainer. And we used to have to learn how to train, because staffing was so important. The more time and effort you put in at the beginning, the better off you're going to have at the end, okay? So you've got to give them, Sam, exactly, it's like raising kids, yeah? You've got to basically hand feed them to start with to be able to build their independence, right? So if you don't give them the direction and the expectation that you want out of it, then you're not going to get it. Okay, so I wouldn't call it hand-holding as such. You don't want to be micromanaging your VA, but you certainly do want to be giving them direction enough that they can walk away understanding what's expected of them. And then you're able to then adjust at certain milestones so that, the worst thing that I see is that you give a VA something to do and then you just let them run away and do it, and you don't check in with them when they're supposed to be handing something back. For the first 2 weeks, you've got to set the expectations of what you're wanting, okay? What's the next one? How much hand holding? Let's hide that one. My system's freeze. Okay, here we go. Something happened there. So how do I know how much to budget? Is it set hours or based on tasks that need to be done? Well, this is an interesting one. So it really depends. So it depends on the service provider that you go through. You know, as far as how much you need to budget depends on how many tasks you want them to do or the type of tasks that you're wanting them to do. I would basically say you budget for what you can afford. You know, if you can only afford $50 a week at the moment, then you budget for that and you say, all right, what could be done in, let's just say that the VA is going to cost you $15 an hour. Well, $50, $15 an hour, that's how much time I've got. What could I get them to do in that amount of time? So I'd work from that angle first, because that's going to make it a lot easier for you to manage if you can afford to do it from the beginning. And you can start slowly. You don't actually need to, you know, with a lot of companies, they require you to have 20 hours minimum. My company, you don't. Freelance sites, you don't. You can just say to them, I can afford 5 hours a week and that's it. So you can basically just manage it in that respect. I always say you do what you can do. Don't go to a company and adhere by what they tell you. You go by what you want. Yeah. So if you want to only spend 3 hours a week, you're not going to go to the company that says you've got to start with 20. You're going to come to a company like me, or you're going to go to a freelance site, and you're going to be able to get what you can afford. So that's what I would say in that respect. Sam's just thrown in a question, how would you like clients to liaise with the VAs? So that's really interesting, because every company is going to be different. So my company is specifically around dealing directly with the VAs. So you basically, we find the right VA for you, and then we connect you to their email address, and then you work with them directly. Freelance sites, you would work with them directly through whatever the freelance site platform is. So a lot of companies work very differently. Some of them have project management systems that you've got to submit work through, but then you don't really know the VA that's doing the work. I like you to have the connection with the VAs so that you've actually got someone that, you know, actually you have that connection with. I think that makes a big difference. So it comes through me, it goes to the VA in the first instance, but then following that you work directly with the VA, and you only hear from us if there's issues, or and then we bill on a fortnightly basis. That's how we work. Okay. Sean also asks, can you get a VA to set up automation stuff, uploading videos, transcribing videos, getting websites streamlined? Absolutely, all of that. You know, our VAs are so talented. There's so much that they can do. There's so many different VAs out there with different level of skills. You know, there's so much that we can find. We're such, you know, I've always been super resourceful when it comes to finding people. You know, I remember 2 years ago, someone came to me, she was a landscape designer, and she said, look, I just need someone to be able to do CAD drawings of the landscape backyards that I'm wanting to create, but I just need it cheaply. You know, and I never had anybody like that on my books, but I managed to find somebody who was absolutely brilliant and who only cost her $20 an hour. So I think it's just being resourceful. So yeah, absolutely, you can have them doing all of that stuff. And the last question, do you have to know how to do things first before you ask someone to do it for you? That's a really great question. Sometimes, yes. You know, if it's a system that is specific to your industry, and it's something that's not easily found by Googling, then yes, you kind of do need to know how to use it, or you need to have some form of documentation that will show the VA how to use it. In a lot of cases, however, no, you don't. So it might be something like you don't know how to do an automation in a program like ActiveCampaign, for example, and you want somebody who does know how to do it to set things up for you, then yes, absolutely, we could find someone that does that. Same with social media. If you don't know how to do marketing on Instagram, then there are plenty of VAs out there that do, and they love doing it, and so you wouldn't need to know how to do that. In most cases, it's good if you do know something about what you want to achieve out of it. You don't need to know exactly how to do it yourself, but as long as you know what you're wanting to achieve out of doing it and the process of what you want to happen, then that will make it a lot easier. How do you assign tasks? Again, every platform is very different. The freelance platforms, you do it via their platform. In our business, for example, there's many different ways that you can do it. If you don't already, I suggest having a communication project management system. So something like Trello, Asana, Basecamp, Slack, any of those platforms that allow you to create a task, assign it, and put a deadline to it are really, really good for both you and the VA from a communication point of view, and it keeps the communication attached to a specific project rather than getting lost in emails. So I highly recommend, and if you want to know more about that, please contact me and I can have a quick conversation with you about what might be best for your business if you are considering having a VA on board. Okay, but I highly recommend you do that rather than just via email or even via Skype or anything like that, because it gets lost. So if you can have it all in one place where you can refer back to it, then it's much easier. How long does it take to get things done for you? Well, that kind of depends on what you're wanting to get done. So, you know, the thing that I like about having that instant connection directly with your VA is that most of the time the VA is, you know, only working for a couple of clients. You can basically have a dedicated time that they work for you. So depending on the actual project, depends on how long it will take, obviously, but it should be, you know, a daily. If you've got, for example, like Sam was saying that she wanted, you know, let's just say 10 to 20 hours a week. Well, it might only take 2 hours to do keyword research. That VA will likely do that keyword research for you within 48 hours, you know, and then it's done. So it's a fairly quick process. It just depends, like I said, what it is specifically that you're actually wanting to have done. So I think if you go onto freelance sites, though, it's a very different response. So on the freelance sites, the response you're getting is probably likely to be a bit longer. And the reason why I say that is that these freelance sites, they are basically scrambling for work. They're picking up the next best job. They'll pick up the job that pays them the best. So if you're sitting there and you've only got one or two small things that you want someone to do for you, then you're probably likely to be kept putting back at the back of the line because somebody else is coming in with a bigger job that's earning them more money. So that's why I've always, like, with if you're wanting something and it's time sensitive and you're wanting it done quickly, then I would suggest going through an agency where you have a dedicated VA that is actually spending most of their time working on your stuff. That's going to help you a lot more. Well, that is the end of the questions. Thank you so much, guys. That's been amazing. So there's two things that I want to finish off at the end of this for you. So there's two things that I'm going to put in the resources at the bottom of this for you. The first thing is the task audit challenge, just to challenge you to basically audit the tasks that you think that you could actually get a VA to do for you. Categorize those, put them into some form of a job description. That's really going to help you move forward and start to get some things off your plate. Secondly, is I've got a list of 100 things that a VA can do for you. It kind of prompts you to think a little bit more about the types of things that someone can do for you, and I love it. You know, and if you're ever in doubt and you're not sure about, you know, if you've got something that's really pressing that you really want to get done, but you're not sure whether a VA could actually do it for you, just message me, go, hey, Kristy, could one of your VAs do this? And I'll be able to tell you straight away. I've had 2 of those phone calls today of people just saying, I need to transfer content from this website over to a new website. Could you do that? Well, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. So no job is too small, no job is too big, you know, no job is unachievable, I am sure. I've always been able to find a resource. So please go ahead. And as Sam said, yes, great to learn the difference between freelance and, you know, an agency VA. That's probably one of the biggest things. One of the things that I do a lot is I talk about having a freelance to core member mentality as a business owner. So wanting you to think about, what is this person going to be for you in your business? What do you want them to be? Do you want them to be a long-term team member, someone that's core to your business, or do you want them just to do a quick job for you? That's the difference. So your core team member is going to be someone that you have a dedicated VA for, you know, that you go through an agency, whereas you just need a quick job done and it's a one-off, or, you know, whatever, then that's going to be your freelance, because you can get them a lot cheaper, right? You can get the job and the work done a lot quicker. And usually it's something that you're not worried about spending a little bit of money on, and if it's not right, you lose that money. Whereas if you've got that core team member, it's somebody who you're going to nurture and who you're going to bring on board. I mean, you look at my team, I've got 22 VAs. I had 15 of them on the call with me today. The majority of those girls, so the girl who's been with us the least joined last month. The one that's been with us the longest has been with me for over 9 years. So we're talking, you know, the majority, I reckon 10 of those girls have been with me for over 5 years. So even the ones that have been with us for a really short, some of them have been with us for 2 or 3 years. Their clients have dropped off in the last 12 months. They are still with us, communicating and part of our team. They don't want to say goodbye. They might be working for other clients somewhere else, but they don't want to lose the connection they have with us. That's the difference. And that's where, you know, you've got to think about, what do you want this person to be to you? And that's where you know where to go. Hopefully that's been really helpful. Thank you, Sammy, for staying with me this whole session. It's been really nice to have somebody bouncing comments and questions to me. I really appreciate that, and I hope that people will look back on this and get value out of it. I'm here always if anybody wants to set up a chat to talk about how a VA might support them at this time. I really believe that in a few weeks' time, VAs are going to be really beneficial to businesses as they start to pull themselves out of this slump and work out how they're going to operate in the future. You know, we're already set up, we're ready for it, and, you know, we have so much talent just sitting here waiting for people to come back on board. So thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Get some rest. I know I will be, and I look forward to seeing you somewhere in the group. Take care. Bye, Sam.